Um, my name's Tristan, and this is Aaron.
Hello.
And today we're going to throw a lot of stuff at you. Be warned, there's like about 80 slides to get through. So it's quite dense, but the ideas are quite important to us and to our work. We're going to explore these ideas through some projects we've worked on, but also through some projects we've been exposed to that others are working on. And the overall theme is going to be about openness, collaboration, and how we can work globally with the power of the internet to solve problems.
Okay, so we all know that we live in an age with multiple global problems. Some of them threaten to be bigger than any challenge we've ever faced before, like climate is one of the big ones. The loss of privacy, the rise of automation, and what that's going to do to the job market, right? So people all over the world are working on these kinds of issues, but they do it separately oftentimes, and we think that's unnecessary because a lot of times technology exists that can do a lot of good in the world, but it's locked up under the patent system.
So the patent system being legal protections, which protect intellectual property and ideas from being used by other people without paying more money than you or I could afford. So what do we do to unlock this? Aaron and I have been convinced over the past 2-3 years of our lives that open source, which is a definition of a way of working, basically that rather than limiting people's ability to share and work together and build on each other's work, actively encourages it and actively encourages collaboration around the world. And these are people working together around the world. So, Aaron and I, just to kind of run down briefly where we're coming from and how we got to this stage where we realized the importance of open source. A few things about our past. So, I come from England. I was brought up in a very green area and was exposed to nature a lot, had an affinity with the environment, which I kind of brought into the rest of my life.
Both of my parents have had really serious health issues, so that got me inspired to do things like yoga. So I've been practicing yoga for about 10 years. I teach yoga every day, Tuesday at 5:30 if you want to check my class out.
I studied film production in the UK, which kind of brought me into documentary, which exposed me to all these powerful ideas, which have somewhat radicalized me, but allowed me to kind of see through the viewer's lens what's going on in the world.
And I spent my 20s working for different nonprofits like Amnesty International, working on Navajo Indian rights, protecting wilderness areas, and throughout that time I tried to study organizational development and project management to try and figure out how humans can kind of work together in networks to create effective social change.
Yeah, I kind of fell in through my through being interested in journalism. I fell in with an organization called WikiLeaks, which further kind of radicalized my ideals and also exposed me to and convinced me of the power of openness and transparency to create change in the world.
And just the last piece of my background, my brother and I co-founded Youth on Record. The mission of that organization is to bring music production and lyric writing classes to at-risk youth throughout Colorado. We merged with flowbots.org and now just opened a youth media studio in the La Alma district of Denver. There's professional level recording equipment available to all of Denver's youth now through Youth on Record.
So that's the kind of look at me and what I've done thing gone. So open source is essentially the destination that these ideas took us to. And Aaron and I both ended up discovering open source and how it could be applied in a way that was quite radical and creating change at a place called Open Source Ecology.
Okay, so OSC is one of the leading open hardware companies in the world. It was founded by TED Fellow Dr. Marcin Jacobowski. The mission of the organization is to create the 50 most important industrial machines to create a modern civilization from bare raw materials. So everything from a tractor to a bread oven to a circuit maker. And all the designs are completely open source. There's literally been thousands of people participating in OSC's work throughout the years. And Tristan and I spent a lot of time living together in Missouri at Ground Zero with OSC, living with the founder and trying to make that project work.
Which was a bit of an experience. We lived in like a mud house, basically, that they built with this machine that builds mud bricks out of dirt up there, so that was interesting. This is another organization who are friends of ours. They're called, it's kind of cut off in the top there, but they're called Public Laboratory. And what Public Lab does is they're essentially a group of citizens, non-scientists, who create really cheap and easy to make hardware tools, like you can see in the top left. There's a balloon mapping kit, an infrared plant camera. They use these tools to document their local environments and to detect things like pollution or ecological decline and create data around those observations. What they do, what's really interesting, is they call this speaking the language of power, which means that rather than protesting outside of a government office under some emotive, kind of emotional statement and banner, they will take data that they've generated, which you can't argue with, and present it to public officials in order to generate change that they want to see. So that's called citizen science, and that's a theme that really inspired us with our own work. But just to really outline what citizen science is, I want to show you a video that they produced recently, which was part of a Kickstarter they've launched.
From the open source community that brought you the balloon mapping kit and the infragram plant camera comes a new project to measure oil contamination.
There's some kind of leak. It's flowing into the drain. It's not stopping.
We're going to need help.
The Public Lab community works collaboratively to investigate environmental problems. Dear fellow Public Lab members, we've discovered a leak near a street drain. We think it could be oil.
Well, if you want to identify the polluter, you'll need to collect some evidence.
How's this done in the lab?
How about measuring fluorescence? You get the sample to glow with a UV light, and you measure the color.
Could we build something that could do that? We could use a laser pen and a DVD to separate the colors.
That would keep the cost down. Then a webcam could cheaply measure the colors.
We'll have to dissolve the sample so we can light it up.
Then we'll need some software.
All open source, of course.
Most importantly, we'll need to compare it to some known samples to find a match.
For that part, we can all help. Today, we're inviting you to pitch in and help take the oil testing kit to the next level. The Public Lab community really works together like this, and so could you if you join. We're designing the kit to be affordable, easy to use, yet precise, and of course, open source, so you can download the plans and build one yourself today. It uses a UV laser, a narrow slit to let a beam of light in, a piece of DVD to diffract the beam, and a webcam. These parts fit into a carefully sized cardboard frame, and then into a light-proof box, like this prototype. There's a lot left to do, and if we all work together, we can make affordable pollution detection a reality. Remember, we're not a company selling a product. We're an open source community supported by a nonprofit, and we're asking for your involvement. So from all of us in the Public Lab community, we look forward to working with you.
That's Public Lab. You may look at this video and think, well, that's a really narrow use case for doing that. But the point isn't necessarily that these are limited in their use. It's that now we have a tool to do something new, right? Now anybody who's concerned with that, with oil detection, can do it, and they can do it really cheap, which is great. So here's another project. This is called WikiHouse, which are another open hardware non-profit organization. And what WikiHouse does is it essentially designs these files, which you can see in the top right here. You download these files, you get a bunch of plywood sheets, and you cut them using the CNC router that we'll hear more about later. And all those pieces, these components, can slot together by unskilled people in a weekend. So you could get together with some friends and build yourself the structural shell of a house in a weekend with some friends for relatively cheap. You can also change the files anytime you want. So if you want to create a new house, you can use the same structural elements and build off of the work of WikiHouse.
Okay, another rising trend is the Internet of Things. You can take cheap electronics and embed sensors within it, and then you have the power to monitor your local conditions and stream data wirelessly to the internet. So for example, if you see up here, if you look up here, that's a light detector connected via Wi-Fi to the internet to your phone. So you can have a little DIY hack together security system. They also mimic the functionality over here of the Nest. So it's kind of a smart thermostat where you can control the climate in your house through your smartphone. But what's great about this technology is it's open source, so anybody can use it and modify it. But their kit came out last year for $39. And this year they're upgrading it a year later. It's twice as powerful and it's only $20. But if you embed it in a product that you design, you can get it as cheap as $10. So this technology, this affordable electronics is what allows citizen science to happen because you can easily embed sensors and stream data to the internet.
So as you can tell, Aaron and I were kind of bought into this idea of open source through our exposure to the projects we were involved in and other projects that we were kind of watching. And that's when we fell in love with plywood. Allow me to explain. So that's that's a video we released a while ago, about last year. That was an old prototype, but Aaron's going to take us through how the design developed.
Okay, obviously the first time you do anything, it's not always that great. Not very lovely design yet, but that's the first version of the Beehive. And then we took the design and talked to different experts and got some feedback. Started experimenting with new things. This was like a hexagon-shaped locking mechanism. We tried that out. Noticed the gap in the roof. We realized a lot of water can get down in there, so we had to do some more design updates. But we kind of nailed it last year, and we sold about 50, and they got shipped all over the world. This is us kind of mass manufacturing at a local level, which is really awesome. No outsourcing of manufacturing here. And then this is the latest version of the Beehive. It's made from beetle kill pine, 6.1 I think. And then our collaborator in Spain made a box, a stacking box shaped top bar version called the Barcelona Warrior. And here it is in one of Denver's urban gardens.
So we've got 2 beehive designs, and very briefly, just to show you how this all works, this is what you will download from the internet. These are essentially files that tell a machine, which you saw in the video, how to cut out these pieces. So you download these files, you get them routed out on that machine you saw in the video, and then you can assemble from those pieces these 2 hives without screws or glues in approximately a couple minutes. And each one is cut from a single sheet of plywood, so it's very material efficient. But how does this all have value towards the ecological problem of bee decline? Well, allow me to just explain a little about this issue. So you might be aware that bees are very active pollinators. They're one of the most effective pollinating species. Honeybees are one of the most effective pollinators on the planet. They pollinate 70 of the top 100 staple foods that our species relies on to feed itself, or to feed ourselves. And there are mass die-offs occurring, which have been kind of building up over the past decade, and we're not sure why. So the other problem here is normally you'd rely on the scientific community to kind of figure out the problem. The problem with the scientific community in this case is that the companies that are likely to be causing the problem, big agricultural companies like everybody's favorite Monsanto, like Bayer, Syngenta, who produce pesticides, are so rich and powerful that they're able to purchase the research and actually just either prevent it from happening or just totally destroy any validity of the research. Monsanto, being so audacious as to, in 2011, actually purchase a bee research institute named Biologics. So they now own the largest bee research institute in the world. Can we trust Biologics data anymore? Probably not. So what do we do about this?
So if centralized research institutes are inherently corruptible, the thinking goes like this: we can create decentralized scientific networks where nobody owns or controls the network itself. And if we stream the data openly and make it available to the general public, then the interpretation is up for independent review. Nobody owns that data. So one of the leading open hardware projects in this space is called the Smart Citizen Platform. They've created a city monitoring device that's really affordable. It has a number of sensors on it, and you can detect the toxicity levels within your city. This is their hardware. And then all the data is streamed to an online database called the Smart Citizen API. You can map where your kid is. You can look at and graph all the conditions like temperature and humidity, NO2 levels, etc. And all of the information is available to everybody, from the average citizen all the way up to government policymakers. So we partnered with the Smart Citizen platform, and last year we ran an Indiegogo campaign and raised $63,000, 300% of our goal. And the mission of the Open Source Beehives project is to create sensor-enhanced beehives and a global network of researchers who are all actively trying to work together to figure out what's causing bee decline.
So yeah, like Aaron said, we ran this Indiegogo campaign, and it went pretty well. We had adopters springing up all over the world. We've got our hives now on most continents, I think. Yeah, not Antarctica yet. We'll see how that one goes. But yeah, New Zealand, Australia, Chile, they're everywhere. We're not actually sure how many are out there. We think we sold about 50, but we think there's up to 100 around the world, because our designs are open source, so anybody can make them. They're not obliged to tell us they're making them, so we don't actually know where they are, which is kind of cool. So we don't, like, we'll get emails and stuff like, hey, a new hive in, like, Botswana. Oh, cool. And we estimate that between 1.25 and 2 million bees are being housed within our hives around the world. So that's a pretty cool little piece of data we're pretty pleased with. Oh, one thing. Yes, very quickly. We should have done this at the beginning. So we have 5 of these mini hives here, and we're going to be giving them away at the end of this talk. Anybody who would like one or would like to stay in touch about the work we're doing, please sign up on this sheet of paper that's going to be passed around. You can just put your name and your email address, and you might just get a mini hive. Whoop-de-doo.
Okay, so we spent the year working on our sensor platform. This is a laser-cut acrylic case that we made locally. That's the smart core that we showed you, and it's got a number of sensors embedded on it, like temperature, humidity. Next slide. That's a microphone, so you can write different algorithms and run the algorithm to listen all the time to the different sounds and frequencies that are coming out of the hive. And sometimes, like, certain conditions within the colony you can anticipate them by the sounds that the queen makes or that the workers make. So that's our microphone. This is a little IR counter that you can mount over the entrance of the hive, and it counts how many bees come and go throughout the day, so you can kind of track the activity of the population.
So we've got the sensors kind of moving along. We're almost there to a public release, hopefully by this spring. But to really like scale that impact, we're launching something called the Nectar Program with the help of our lovely beekeeper Seneca, who's in the audience today. We're partnering with a company called Tico, a local tea maker, to link our project essentially with businesses who can help sponsor hives and create pollinator habitats. So these are pesticide-free areas that can give food and habitats to all sorts of pollinators, not just bees. But it will also fund the beehives with sensors to expand our research. And we're very pleased to announce that we were nominated and then won the People's Choice Award for the Internet of Things biggest social impact project of 2015, which we were really, really proud to receive. And funnily enough, we received it in unison with the Smart Citizen Project, who are the guys who are hosting our data. So it's like this, we feel like we're moving in a good direction here, and we're getting like some momentum as a team, which is great. But now to shift gears a little bit. So the theme we noticed through the Beehives project while we're working on it is that this is a systemic problem. The reason pollinators are in decline is systemic. It's not like one cause. But one of the major players in the problem is just the whole movement and idea and application of industrialized agriculture. Industrialized agriculture, as you see here, these are the crop circles that are very familiar to us as we kind of fly over over Colorado. And many of these are up to 150 acres large. These are massive, massive monoculture farms, single crop cultures. There is no diversity in those areas. They are heavily pesticide, single crop cultures, which do not cater to the biodiversity that life needs to thrive. So all this area of land are compromised. And not only are they compromised in terms of their environmental impact, but they're compromised in terms of their health impact on us. We're consuming these pesticide-laden products. We're then processing them, adding all sorts of horrible, horrible things like artificial flavors, colors, sugars, and these are having dire health implications, especially here in the United States, where we have huge problems with obesity, heart disease, and other affiliated issues. So all this has led to there being a huge breakdown in trust between consumers and producers of food. Now, logical next move, which a lot of people are starting to do, is to become prosumers themselves. So they're consumers who also produce food. We can see this happening especially in Denver, where there's a huge rise in urban farming. So we kind of like saw this systemic issue, we saw what we'd been working on, and we thought potentially we can get involved in this larger issue.
So we're taking everything that we learned with the Beehives project, from how to use local scale manufacturing, flat pack, easily shippable and assemblable products, the electronic sensors, building community and networks, open source collaboration. We're taking all that and we want to apply it to the urban food problem. So we want to create healthy spaces for people and families to grow food, but also healthy locations for pollinators to thrive in the city. So we call this Acre.
And let me describe what this is in a moment, but before that, the word acre is derived from Old English acker, originally meaning open field. The acre was approximately the amount of land tillable by a yoke of oxen in one day. So acre defines this space which is limited by the efforts of a small number, if not one person. So we kind of like that name. So what we ended up doing is using our networks, there are a lot of people watching our project, to promote different designers from around the world getting involved and helping us on this project. So we threw out this ad onto our social networks, and we ended up building this pretty global team who have been collaborating with us over the past month and a half to develop a number of cool designs, which Aaron is going to show you.
Okay, so we're going to roll out 5 or 6 products this spring. Scott, where are you at? Okay, so we made this prototype of the plant bed. You're seeing a plant bed here, and Scott over there from Housefish manufactured our first test unit right there. You can see it. So we want to invite everybody to come check it out and give us feedback. It's not a final product yet. We're always listening to the community and learning about how we can make our designs better. But also, this image shows, that's kind of like an ideal state for a plant bed, but also this demonstrates how we're thinking in terms of scalability, how can we stack these plant beds and use more space efficiently. This is a worm hotel, so a lot of times people don't have a compost bin or it's not accessible. So what you can do is put this inside your house or on your balcony, and then you can put all your food scraps in it, and then worms break down the food scraps in about a week's time when you have really nutrient-dense soil. That's a chicken coop for backyard raising chickens. A hen lays a new egg, I think 2 eggs every 3 days, and you can fit 2 inside of this chicken coop. And it's also scalable, so you can have hens in your backyard and just have fresh eggs all the time. This is a balcony plant bed, so if you don't have a backyard, you can put this on your balcony railing, and then you can grow food in a tight little space. So our beehives retail for between $350 and $400, and that's not accessible for everybody. So we made a mass market hive that's going to be a lot more affordable for people. And this is us demonstrating a new level of thinking where we can design for manufacturing. It's optimized toolpath, so it's really efficient to make this. It's cheap to make it. And those are little 2x4, so 2 foot by 4 foot panels. We can stack them and put them right in a box and ship it as is. Like if you remember putting together like model airplanes when you were a kid, how everything was kind of twist off. That's kind of the thinking there. So it's really easy and efficient to spread that throughout the world.
So this is the way our design community currently looks. We're like this central node that's coordinating all their efforts. But ultimately, we want to get to a state where it can be a lot more decentralized, and different people can start to just start their own ideas and work with each other to create things, and then we'll host the ideas on our website. So that's most of the talk, I guess. We've hoped that we've kind of shown you guys some of the work that we're doing and relayed some of the concepts behind our work in a way that you can resonate with in some way. Just to go over the main things that I hope you'd leave this chat with. So technology can help us help the planet. I think a lot of people look at technology potentially as this ominous thing which has maybe done more damage than good to the planet. But I think we're getting to the stage now where we can start to manipulate technology to amend the damage that's been done by it and by us due to the technology availability, the internet, our ability to collaborate cheaply and easily now. Citizens are eager to participate. If you make something available to people and you make a good case for how it can help the environment or how it can help them, people are eager to get involved, and our project has very much demonstrated this. We've both been hugely surprised and pleased with how people have responded. So collaboration thrives on openness, as Aaron was saying before. intellectual property and the standard limitations we self-impose as a society, as a culture, as a race, are irrelevant or should become irrelevant very soon if we're really going to be serious about solving the crises that we face. So open source is a really great and neutral way of kind of developing stuff in a united way instead of as a divided. Anybody, especially you, can do this stuff. So Aaron and I are not exceptional people. We're not exceptionally smart or clever or, heaven forbid, creative. I don't know what we are, but we're not engineers, definitely. So, but we've managed to coordinate the energies of a number of people who do have skills in specific areas to build a project that is having an impact and has yet to have the impact that we envision it having, but is on the way to doing that. So I encourage everybody in this audience to think about, what do they know, what do they care about, what ideas do they have, and how can they unite people behind those ideas to try and create positive change. Come to our Acre launch party! Yay! Confetti! I had to look for a long time to get confetti this colorful, so I promise there'll be more than 2 of us there too. So we're going to basically be doing what we did last year with the Beehives project in a much more coordinated and wise way to raise money for our Acre project. So we're launching an Indiegogo in early March, and anybody who's signed up on the paper is going to get an invite to that party. We'd love you to come. We're going to try and make it fun, maybe screen some relevant documentaries about food and why what we're doing is important. And if you don't have your name down, you can take note of this little bit.ly link at the bottom. So that's bit.ly/acremail, and that will sign you up and you'll receive an invite too. Thank you, everybody.
Yes, there's lots of ways to get bees. Well, there's a lot of you out there. There's lots of ways to get bees. It's actually very easy to get bees. There's lots of commercial beekeepers that produce things called packages that actually this is the time of year that you need to get online and start ordering those. They cost about $110 a colony. And what that is that commercial beekeepers go to California, they make their hives super strong, and then they split them in half, and they give you about 3 pounds of bees for $110. You can also get on a swarm list and catch your own bees, which is really exciting, but you usually have to be a part of an association, a beekeeping association, which is not a bad thing to do because there's a lot of mentor opportunities and educational connections in those places.
We don't really care about that. We just want to, it's a headache. Okay, so you can shield electronics and prevent interference. So you can shield it with kind of like a metallic case. We also can use things like directional antennas that, rather than sending EMS in every direction, they focus it in one way. You can also mount that outside the hive. And we're looking at ways of just testing all of this. Of course, their health is primary. Do you want to add to that?
So an ENF is electromagnetic field, and it's generated by electronics. And the concern is, if you're putting electronics inside of a beehive, isn't that going to like screw with the bees and like do the opposite of what you're trying to do, i.e. hurt the colony? And a lot of people have been saying this to us. Our forum is a flurry of people making suggestions and comments. And we're addressing this. We actually have an engineer who specializes in electromagnetic radiation now collaborating with us. I think he's on the other side of the United States. But that's another example of like people coming together and helping us solve these problems with the skills they have because they resonate with what we're trying to do.
And who said that? It was you. So that was, you can also simply just use a data logger, so like a little SD card. You can put it in there and turn Wi-Fi off completely.
These hang in the cavity of the hive, and essentially what these allow the bees to do is build honeycomb down like this. So they start here and they build it down and they build it more and more. And you can just lift these combs, these top bars out, and you can check your colony or you can extract honey. The way this is different to the Langstroth hives is Langstroths often have what's known as foundation comb, like sitting in there, so predefined honeycomb structures. which means the bees don't have to build them themselves. They can just start putting honey in. So they produce more honey with the Langstroth, but they're exposed to all these foreign chemical or substances, like sometimes the foundation comb is made out of plastics or nasty industrial materials, whereas with this, they make all the wax themselves and they have total control of the environment they live in, which we like because it's more natural.
So here in Denver, you're allowed to have 2 hives per city lot. So if it's in your private space, you can have up to 2 hives in that space. And the rule is that they have to be facing a 6-foot barrier. So that can be like trees or some kind of vegetation or a fence. And that's because bees kind of fly in and out of the hive like airplanes. They kind of go and they're gone, and then they come back. But that like section in between the front of the hive is a lot of bee traffic. So if you put them in front of a fence, they'll go up and over the fence, and your neighbors won't really even notice them other than in the garden. So those are kind of the city regulations for bees. And you don't...
It's getting a little tight, just bear with us.
There's no rules about if you're next to a school or anything like that, as long as it's in your private space.
Yeah, we're really concerned with it. And yeah, it is one of the issues of our time, I think. If you're not familiar with the idea of net neutrality, it's big telephone and broadband providers are essentially trying to lobby to change the laws to essentially allow internet fast lanes. So only companies that could afford to pay for internet fast lanes would get high-speed internet connections. Your small business website, which probably couldn't afford that, would have slower load times, and it would just change the whole infrastructure and the way we share information on the internet. Really bad news. The way I look at this is we've only got so many hours in the day, and by specializing on things that we're able to kind of have more effect. But I support very much, and I donate and stuff when I can to these other things. But yeah, net neutrality is hugely important. Thanks for bringing that up. Fortunately, there's a relatively new standard of plywood called CARB Phase 2 certification. And what that means is that no toxic chemicals are used to bind the pieces of the plywood together. So this one is all, it's all natural glues. Nothing's going to like leach into the soil and harm you. So yeah, that's something we've thought a lot about though. Thanks for bringing it up.